our amazing guest, Matteo Grassi, the founder of PopUp, a revolutionary no code commerce platform that empowers businesses to control the journey visually. From Broadway dancing to starting companies, Matteo has proven his mettle by generating $16 million in revenue, securing $3.5 million in funding with just a pitch deck, and founding a charitable organization that truly makes a difference. His story of transition from Broadway to starting up companies. That's a lot of work, and perseverance is a testament to the power of determination. And so, stay tuned right here with us as we take a dive into his journey and learn valuable lessons. As always, Mateo, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Sabir. It's really nice to meet you in person after following you for quite a few years, actually. Yeah, it's
It's my
really great.
pleasure. It's a pleasure having you on the show. So, can you tell us about your background and how you transitioned from being an actor dancer on Broadway to becoming a successful startup entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think it started with my degree is actually psychology. So I actually finished university. I studied behavioral psychology. I was always interested in, humans and how the mind works, and actually helping others as well. But on the side, I was always dancing. So I was always dancing or acting, and I started since I was like 10 years old. So I decided to follow my passion. And after I finished university, that it was something more for my mom, I think, for my family, just to kind of tick that box. So after I finished college, literally, I think I did my dissertation in September. And in October, I was flying to New York, where I got accepted into Broadway Dance School. And I started working with the school as well, dancing in many music videos and different performances. Uh, how did I start working with companies? I don't know. I think it's because after all these after working in the arts for so long, I decided to kind of transition into more a corporate role. And from psychology background, it brought me to marketing because at the end of the day, I still think that marketing is really understanding people and great psychology, not just numbers and advertising. And from that, came from the passion to just keep on traveling and wanting to have independence in a time where remote work was not a thing. So when remote work was not an option, the only option was start your own business, and that's why I started my own business. And I was good at marketing, so I was able to grow them eventually.
It's interesting when you go through that iteration, right, for the first time. What was your first business idea before you even decided to start your own company?
My first business idea, the first business idea I had was actually, yeah, was I wanted to start a fashion brand, like a streetwear brand, because I think I'm from hip hop and breakdancing and all of this. And I always had a passion for science, so I was thinking about to create like this streetwear brand using nanotechnology fabric. And it was kind of at the beginning of nanotech. That was like in 2001, 2002, and that was actually my first business idea. A highly breathable streetwear brand that doesn't get dirty and doesn't, with high performance fabric. Yeah.
How long did that idea last?
Exactly. I had a good business mind at the time because that turned into my first business, which was a uniform and workwear business. Because I realized that in the fashion industry, I started to ask people, that were doing this, and they were like, "You're gonna have big issue with depreciation of the stock. So while you're trying to market your products, at the same time, you have to sell them very quickly. Otherwise, they're gonna devaluate in stock, and that's gonna be an issue eventually." So I thought the idea was
Mateo,
good.
do you know what it's called in fashion?
No,
Banana on a hanger.
banana on anger, correct? Yes, you don't want that. So the idea was good, and I had contacts already with suppliers. So I decided to do something that doesn't depreciate over time, and the only thing that I was thinking about was workwear. So I started with like beauty tunics, highly breathable, again nanotechnology fabric beauty tunics. So I was investing in stock, and I didn't have to worry about how long I was going to take to sell it. And yeah, it lasted for like about 3 years.
3 years. So you started at zero. Where did it grow to?
It didn't grow too much. That was I don't know if I can judge failures. I would categorize failure. It just didn't go. It just plateaued. And when things plateaued, and I didn't see an opportunity to kind of grow it, and I didn't really know that you could ask money. I mean, honestly, it might sound weird. I'm 40 years old, but I googled VC 3 years ago. I googled what venture capital was. I didn't know what venture capital exists. I know there was your own money, and then there was banks, but banks were never going to give me anything because I didn't have any collateral and I didn't have a lot of history, right? So,
Hmm.
so that business went okay. I think it supported me for a while, but it kind of eventually plateaued. And then the recession hit as well. That was in 2008, 2009. So that kind of, you know, made things a little bit harder as well because I was doing consultancy on the side. So I had my own consultancy, almost not consultancy firm. I was myself and other three guys that I was paying. And I was the kind of the head to this consultancy group that was doing e-commerce and site builds and marketing, etc. And a few clients went out of business that didn't pay, so that put me in a really really bad financial position. So that's that was kind of tough years. I went back into like social welfare for a couple of years, like fully unemployed for 2 years, working like as a waiter. I went back like from top to zero. Yeah.
When you go on this entrepreneurial journey, there's a lot of stuff you learn, uh, not only about yourself, right? I'm sure that you learn psychologically about your personality and a lot of those things. You grow in that aspect. Hopefully you learn quite a lot from it. But also there are technical aspects of entrepreneurship that, like you said, that you didn't even know the word venture capital existed.
Yeah.
You didn't even know that. By the way, I'm an immigrant also, right? So I've been here in New York for 35 years now. So I've been here for a long time. But when I was going from high school, secondary school to college, I did not know the word scholarship.
Mm.
I didn't know what scholarships were. It was completely a foreign concept. I didn't even know the word existed. Just like it's funny that you mentioned venture capital didn't exist for you. For me, growing up, I did not know what the word scholarship meant. And I didn't have a North Star like an older cousin or somebody who has gone through that sort of a study to know what a scholarship is so that I can get that education from them. But the thing is, as you go through these journeys, you also learn a lot about a lot of different things: intellectual property, venture capital, raising capital, taking on a partnership, bad clients that didn't pay their invoices, and now you were sitting in the middle, but you paid the vendor, but you didn't get the input, so you went bankrupt. So
Yeah.
that even in that process you're learning a lot. And my rule is, the earlier I learn these lessons, the better it is, because you don't want to learn these things when you are 50 or 60 years old.
Yeah. And I think people in US as well, I think people in US had a different perception, and I think you're really fortunate as well to have started very very early in a society that allows you to understand that you can actually be an entrepreneur even if you come from nothing. Because in Italy, for example, when I grew up, entrepreneurs were people that it's a class that you don't go. Like if you are not born in wealth, you don't become an entrepreneur. That's why I
It's just
left,
not
to
in
be
the
honest with you.
cards.
That's why I left. That's why I left Italy. Yeah, I mean, there is, and I see like my wife is Ukrainian, and I travel quite a bit. I would say there's a lot of countries in Europe, especially, that there is still this class system, right? And that if you're born from a working class family, you stay in a working class family. If you're born from entrepreneurial family, then you become an entrepreneur. And honestly, when I go to Italy, and the word in Italian entrepreneur is imprenditore. When I go to Italy, and people ask me, what do you do, and I say this word, it sounds weird to me when I say it. It has a weird tone to it. I was like, I don't feel like that because I have that connotation of that class that is money and all, like the tie and the factories and all of that. I don't know. It's
And you
really
don't
strange.
look like it.
No, I don't look like that at all. No, it's really really strange. Anyways, yeah.
So, what were some of your early challenges? Because you mentioned that you didn't know about venture capital. I'm sure that being a Broadway dancer, right, and going through that sort of education, right, you don't take business classes, you don't take marketing classes or operational classes or anything like that, right, or finance, the things that the building blocks you need for running a business. But what were some of your early challenges? I don't want to just feed you that, but I want to hear your experience.
I think the early challenge has always been like the knowledge gap, right? But I think on my side, I was always very confident. but I always was able to also humble at the same time of kind of not being the smartest guy in the room, and also observed a lot as well other people and understanding what they do things. So I was able always to break down what people, why people do things and how they do them, and that comes from my training actually in psychology. And I love studying psychology. I really loved understanding people. So I think I was able to observe a lot other people that were doing things and then kind of emulate them. But it came a lot with a lot of mistakes at the same time, because I'm 40 years old, so it's not a lot of entrepreneurs that I meet. They are much younger than me right now, and a lot of the lessons that I learn them through making mistakes, and big mistakes as well. I think on one side I was able to always have a plan B, because I grew up. I don't want to sound always like, people say I grew up from a poor family, but I actually did, like, let's remember my dad was like a musician. My mom was a singer in central Italy. So it's like there was not a lot of money. I paid for my own university and all of that. So it's I had to kind of always count on myself, right? I never felt it's like, oh, there is like a safety net in there, or if I want to do something, since I was like 12 years old, I knew that it was up to me to make it happen. So I think every situation that I enter, even though I made mistakes and sometimes I lost everything, I was able to have a backup plan and move forwards, because I always had a plan B, my emergency, I was an emergency parachute.
So you mentioned some lessons that were there are lessons that are you hit it, you do it, and you're very happy that it turned out great, right? And
Yeah.
then there are some lessons that you learned that came pretty harsh, right? It was very hard lesson you learned. You lost money, you lost people, you lost a vendor. Oh, can you give examples of each type that were like key milestones in your learning for those companies?
Yeah, I think the biggest mistakes that I made was not I wouldn't say trust people, but I did never wanted to do business alone, right? I never felt like, oh, I'm gonna start this business on my own. I always wanted to have a collaborative approach, also because I like people, right? It's not, and entrepreneurship is fairly lonely as well. So do it with someone on your side, and having like a different set of skills that you can put into play. That was always a good idea. The issue that I had was jumping into partnerships too quickly without really understanding fully who the person I wanted to do, or who the person was.
So you
And
got married before dating.
I got married before dating. Yeah, in fact, I got also divorced as well. I made these mistakes as well. Not mistakes, but yeah, I got married twice. So and if I think about the situation that happened in my life, where I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking a good business partner is just someone that has a different set of skills, right? And we do good business together, we can talk. But a lot of the times, I think it's also come down, do you have the same values? Do you see life in the same way? What is the
Mm.
purpose? What, do you have the same purpose? Are you driven by the same motivation? It's like at the beginning, the first few years, that's enough, having a kind of a different set of skill. But as you progress forward, all these things like the values, the motivation, the purpose will come into play. And eventually, if they're not aligned, you're going to go separate ways. And if you're both wanted to, be in charge of the company, the captain, the ship cannot go with two captains. Eventually, one captain needs to go. The mistake that I made the first time is not having, shares in the company and not having contracts signed, and everything was like, hey, let's do it, like a verbal agreement, and let's be friends and stuff like this. And when things changed, then I had nothing in my hand, so I was left with nothing. That's happened twice.
You mentioned the word friend. Was this person actually a friend?
I think the mistakes also actually is good. It's like thinking about that someone that you business with are a friend, and for me, business is very personal, right? I'm not really the type of guy that builds a business because wants to make a ton of money, or because I just wanted to kind of build cool stuff with great people. That's for me businesses. I want to build cool things with great people that change the world, right? That's what business always been for me. Nothing more, nothing
Mm.
less. And it still exists today, to be honest with you.
No, because the reason I bring up the word friend is that A lot of entrepreneurs, they start up because it's comfortable, right? They know the person, maybe they grew up together, maybe they're in the same neighborhood. You move to New York and you know them for 3 months, and you believe them that they're a good person, but you have never done anything with them except for maybe go party with them or go to
Yeah,
restaurants and eat and maybe spend maybe Thursday evenings together at a cafe. Maybe that's your relationship, but you think that there's more to it, and then you get into a business situation which is completely a different thing, and that's where they get hurt the most. Either that, or they go with their childhood friend who they want to bring along for the ride, but the person doesn't have any other business value to bring to the table. They just bring them along just because they've been friends for a long time.
yeah. I think for me, I was thinking about it very recently. It was like I behaved in a very similar way that a lot of people that go from one toxic relationship to another, to another, to another, they go, and they don't take the time to actually, after that first toxic relationship, to actually learn about themselves and taking their time before they jump into another business venture. And this is what happened to me. I just, there was one failure, and then once that was going rotten, I jumped into something else. So someone else was coming in with excitement and an idea, and I didn't think too much of it. I just got drawn in, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna move away from this and I'm gonna jump into this because that's gonna make me feel good. And then you realize, oh, I should have learned a little. I should have done more digging. I should have waited a little bit more. So I saw this with my life as well, with my personal relationship. I think I had 4 years after I divorced where I really worked on myself, and now I have an amazing relationship. And I think it's not because also I was lucky to meet her, but I was also because all the work that I did. I think I was ready to actually follow that path.
When you go through that journey of starting up a company, right? I just want to understand your POV.
Hmm.
From 0 to 1 million,
Hmm.
that's a struggle. It's like having a baby.
Yeah.
And the first year of that baby, there's a lot of diapers. The baby cannot take care of itself. You have to take care of everything.
Hmm.
Then when you go from 1 million to 2.5, 3 million, that's a different learning. Then you go from that 3 million to 10 million or 5 million, that's a different learning. 10 to 20 million is a different learning, or 10 to 16 million in your case, right? Can you take us through that journey? Like, what kinds of things did you learn in that process from 0 to 1? I'm sure that there's a lot there, you know.
Yeah, I think the biggest lesson that I learned is that if you double your team, you don't necessarily double your outputs, and this is something that I learned from going from 0 to 1 and then 1 to 16. And I remember,
How did you double it? Is that from 2 people to 4 people, or 20 people to 40 people?
yeah, I think from 1 to 10, I think from 1 to 10, I found that it's really manageable and is really, like, really high productivity. Everyone is hands on, and everyone is just owning like a big part of the business. So you have maybe 2 people in marketing, 2 people in product, 1 people in finance, 1 person in operation, few customer service rep, and the machine goes, and everyone is there is a lot of synergy. And then when you start hiring, especially when you hire fast because you want to grow fast, you go this blitz scaling. And this is what happened to me all the time, like growing very, very fast in a short amount of time. That's where I saw the profits shrinking, the productivity shrinking as well, problems coming, the stress coming as well. It's really, really, that's what I found it the hardest, especially going from, once you pass that 10 people and you go in like 20, and then from 20 you double 40, and that's the already 40 people, you start to have some stress and some issues.
I mean,
But I
in
think,
in that first 10 employees, right, that you have on your team, the relationship tends to be between you and them. There is no
yeah,
hierarchy, right?
no, there's
In the
no
first
hierarchy.
10. But as soon as you go from 10 to 20, there is hierarchy now. Somebody has to be a manager and somebody needs to report into them, you know?
Yeah, and it's always like a double-edged sword because you want to move fast, but when you're 10 you can move very, very fast, like 100%. And then the more people come, you move slower. Because obviously, if you want to be a good leader, you have to let people take ownership of things and make mistakes or do things in a different way, even though you know that if you do them, you're going to move much faster, right? Because you've done them before. The way I usually do things, I try to do things myself first, especially if it's new territories. It's either I hire someone that can do something that I'm not able to do, and I just say I follow your advice, or if it's a new territory, I'll do things myself, and then I delegate and I just let people go, and then let people sorry let people go, let people do whatever they want, with minimal supervision.
So from that transition from 10 to 20 people, was the issue the leadership that you put in, or was the issue the followers that they hired?
Yeah, I think I learned how to be a good leader by making mistakes and also and improving along the way. I think I try to micromanage things too much, at the same time, and I felt as a lot of times people didn't feel empowered to do their job because I hire great people, but great people want to do great work at the same time, right? So if you're hiring great people, you also have to give them the ability to put their greatness into play and put their mind, into something useful. If you're just like trying to move fast because by micromanaging things, then eventually it's going to, you know, you're going to pay the price, which you're going to
What,
leave or not, or making mistakes.
why did you decide to scale?
Because it's a dopamine, right? It's a hit, right? It's a dopamine hit when you see the numbers going and you see the opportunity and you feel like you hacked the system, right? You feel like, oh my God, I got it. I got the right combination of ads and page and everything is just in line and you just double the budget and then the return on ad spend stays there, like it's two and two and two. It's really exciting. It's really, really exciting. But one thing that I learned is that the numbers on the screen are actually, they're not just numbers, they're actually people behind those numbers creating products, shipping products, and using their
Mhm.
products, right? And the customers. And this is the issue that I did a lot of times and a lot of money that I lost from blitz scaling and scaling way too fast. And supply chain going crazy, right? And supply chain not able to cope and credit card disputes coming in and everything else that happens,
Yeah, I
twice
mean,
happened.
that's actually, there's a lot of lesson in that. When you scale, you go from $1,000 a day to $2,000 a day. Let's go with that example, right? That means that now you're going and getting customers to come and buy from you. Congratulations on doubling your business from 1,000 to $2,000 per day. But with it comes, you might have brought on some unqualified customers, that customers you didn't intend to bring on. And now you don't know how to service them. And they all have their own set of questions, right? Because your targeting was off, because there's inefficiencies in advertising all the time, right? There's always
Yeah.
inefficiencies there. So with that, what happens? Your product is not right for them. The reviews go down. They're complaining about things that you didn't think was an issue, right? And now it's an issue. That means that now, if you went from very few live chat and email questions coming into support, or maybe phone calls, now you may have, even though you doubled your revenue, you may have quadrupled your complaints, you know because you brought on the wrong set of people. I mean, the wrong set of customers to your site, because you're still going through that. So whenever you scale, it comes with it, unless you're careful operationally, you may not be ready to even scale. If it was a problem before with $1,000 per day, it's going to become a gigantic problem when it's two thousand
I know.
dollars per day.
I done it twice, and twice if I come back, once was 0 to 4.2 million in 3 weeks, and another time from 0 to 2 million in 1 month. And twice, if I had to go back, I would not do it again because it in both occasions it made more damage than good.
Oh, what was some of those damages?
The first time was that the supply chain didn't cope, so during Christmas as well, so we got inundated with credit card disputes with returns and things like that. So we ended up
So too
basically
many
losing.
orders, too many complaints, you're not shipping on time, your supply chain cannot keep up.
Yeah,
Then you just had a collapse of those orders. Even though you went from 0 to 4.2,
yeah.
you
So
had
it
to
was
return
it was
probably
the
$2
time.
million back.
It was the time. So the issue was the product that we're shipping was a product that most people bought it for a Christmas present. Right, it was a perfect Christmas present gift. Also, it was a high
Oh,
ticket item, meaning that the moment that they realized it was not going to come on time, they canceled and they canceled the order. So they were canceling order while the orders were in transit by contacting the credit card companies. So we ended up basically getting kicked out of PayPal, get kicked out of Stripe, had paid over 1.5 million in fines from Mastercard and Visa, and returns. So we lost basically all the money, and that wasn't the major damage to me because we lost all the money, whatever. The main damage was getting kicked out of all the payment gateways, so the business was on a halt for like 3 months.
wow.
That was
Nothing,
that was it.
zero. You went from there to zero, basically.
Yeah. The second time, I did it much with a product that was shipped. No problem on the shipping. It was shipped in within 24 hours. I had the stock on the ground and stuff like that. The issue was, believe it or not, I just grew too quickly, and PayPal got scared, so they blocked 850,000 in for 6 months.
Yeah, they
And
do hold funds. I know that. Yeah,
I know,
they
but
do
they
hold
were
funds.
only fans because I was growing too quickly. Because this time I thought, okay, so that time I did it wrong. I didn't have the product. It wasn't on the ground, and it was bad. This time I was like, no, I have the product in stock, and I'm shipping within 24 hours. And I've been using PayPal for the last year, and I have like zero disputes, so I can go. And I was like, let's go. And as soon as I go, they blocked again. So yeah, PayPal really, yeah, they did the big damage because they blocked all the money and then they put 30%. So they blocked basically 80% of my equity, and I had to pay that at the end of the year. And it was like it
Cash
was a
flow
mess.
issues.
Oh my god, incredible cash flow issues. And so basically, I had to block all the advertising. I couldn't buy products, so I had to slow down a lot. And they did this really nicely 2 weeks before Black Friday.
Oh, so
Yes.
how did you manage that?
I didn't. I just like the business slowed down, and we lost big opportunities, and we overordered stock because obviously I was doing stock projection based on my current things, and I was like, oh my god, it's going to be Black Friday, it's going to be Christmas. We just ordered a big lot of stock. I think we put like 500,000 in stock, like a big, massive order. And by the time the order arrived, I could not advertise anymore.
It was too late. It was 12:26.
Yeah, it was just like it was. I lost like and then I couldn't keep up. So I had to kind of I don't know, destroy part of the stock. It was a bit of a mess, but
I mean,
I don't have any lessons there because it's like I did everything right. So I don't have any lessons. Just don't scale. I think the lesson is never ever do this type of blitz scalings unless you have 5 to 6 to 7 years of e-commerce history with banks, payment gateways, and like unless you are really for a lot of history, because progressive scaling to me 10 times better. 10 times better, much more profitable.
because you could be a lot of things that in that scenario you actually did all the right things, but your kind of your financial partner, your bank or payment processor said nope, there could be
No,
fraud here. There's an issue here. We're gonna
too
hold
risky,
back
yeah.
your funds.
Yeah, you're just going through quickly. I was like, I sent all the documents. We were like a full-on company. I sent them all my books, my balance sheets, recommendations. Literally, I sent it everything. It was like, yeah, it's just you're growing too quickly, so we have to hold the fine. Literally, they're ticking the boxes.
I
Yeah.
mean, was there an option for you to switch to another payment processor like Authorize.net or
Oh, I
Stripe?
did,
I'm
yeah.
just using these as example, by the
No,
way.
we
I'm not
did.
endorsing.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, no, we were using PayPal and Stripe. So Stripe, but the thing is like 50% of people pay with PayPal, 50% of people pay with Stripe. The issue as well that I did 2.2 million in Germany. So Germany
Mhm.
is a little bit different. So it's about 70% of people use Stripe, 30% of people, sorry, 70% of people use PayPal, 30% of people use Stripe. The issue comes is that most of the money that I had the Stripe money in the bank, right? But most of the money were on PayPal, and I kept them there because I was like, I don't want to scare them, right? Because I don't want to just withdraw all the money in one go, right? Otherwise, they might
Mhm.
feel uneasy. So I'm just gonna leave them there so they are quiet. Was in my mind. So obviously, when this big order needed to be put, I used all my Stripe money that was in the bank. And then I was like, okay, well, we're kind of strapped for cash now. There was about 850,000 in PayPal. I was like, let's put 200,000 in. Let's get 200,000 so we can pay people, and we get. As soon as I try to bring them, as soon as I click that button, blocked,
Blocked.
blocked. Like look like block. And so it was like withdraw, no. And
I
then
mean,
yeah,
this is
6
the type
months.
of stuff. This is the
Yeah.
type of stuff like you can only learn when you go through the experience, right?
Yes.
And unless you have gone through the experience, you don't. When you explain that, if the person doesn't get it, if they're doing small volume but they're doing it progressively, they're not going to face that issue.
No.
The issue comes in when you all of a sudden you go from doing 10,000 to now doing $50,000 a day to $50,000 an hour. You know, then that's way too much growth, and then they think that there may be some fraud going on. Then they
Yeah.
have to make sure that they're controlling it, because they give guarantees to their subscribers, to their PayPal subscribers.
Yeah, I mean, and it wasn't even a decision. It happened by chance because I remember going on the store in the morning, and then I see like $45,000. Usually we were doing like 10,000 a day, 15,000 a day, and suddenly it was $45,000. It was like 2 p.m. I was like, that's
Mm.
not possible. There's something wrong. What's happening? And it was keep on going up and up and up and up. Conversion rate was like 18%. I was like, what was going on? And I didn't find out until the next day. So I started kind of looking at the source of traffic, and the source of traffic was coming from The Guardian, just this big newspaper in UK. And then these other things called Witch.co, and then another. So what happened was we didn't know that Witch.co take one of our products, right? And they do reviews, and they put one of our products at
Wow.
the top of the best products in the category. And then the Guardian picked it up and they made a feature on the product. And then
Oh.
and then there was a chain reaction. So we were getting all this free PR, these massive orders coming in. And I was like, okay, let's go. And then I start putting in like retargeting on Facebook. I started all my retargeting campaign because I was like, this is organic, so let's push it with paid ads. And that's it. And that's what happened. So it wasn't like, oh yeah, my God, let's scale. It was, and that's what I told people. I was like, look, guys, what do you want me to do? It's like, it's a good product. People have been reviewing it. I'm very successful. Let's go. And yeah, they didn't hear. It took 6 months, 6 months to unblock the money.
Yeah, I've had a similar experience with PayPal. I mean, when they see so much receipts coming in, it triggers a red flag on their side, thinking that there may be some issues. If there are a lot of chargebacks now, and you have pulled all your money out, then they're responsible for it.
Yeah.
And then you might run away. That's the concern
Yeah.
there.
But that's why I was trying to kind of deal with them. I was like, I understand your position, but let's work at something out where you are covered, guys. And at the same time, I can operate because now I'm in the shits. So, yeah.
Mm.
But anyways, they didn't want to hear it. So that's my story.
So cash flow you have cash flow problem. The only place at that time, this was more than 3 years ago, right?
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
did not know about venture capital. You didn't know about other types of funds that were available to you. How did you manage to close the gap for your cash flow? Because I'm sure that your vendors were asking for their money, and your money was tied up. 850K of it was tied up with PayPal.
Yeah, so I stopped. We had a product that allow us to work a lot with repeated customers. So we pushed the emails like crazy. We got ingenious on what we had. So we stopped advertising fully, pretty much all advertising, because advertising was eventually impacting the cash flow. Because obviously we were paying for ads on the spot, but the money from the product was coming in a little bit afterwards, right? So we didn't have that kind of 4 or 5 days to play with. And so yeah, we just pushed that, and we had to let go some people, which was not nice. We scaled down the team, scaled down the operation, and made less money with less people. That's it. The profits were good. I mean, the profitability went up. We're being more profitable in terms of number. We're just making less revenue.
Yeah, but the
Much
bottom
less.
line, you were keeping more.
I was keeping more, but I had to let go of a lot of good people, and we were go. I mean, we were scaling. We were launching new brands, so we had to put a lot of things into stall and two brands didn't succeed as much as we wanted, because at the same time we were launching two new brands, so we had to kind of inject, we had to inject cash in there, and we couldn't anymore. So basically we bought the stock, but then we didn't have any money for advertising, so we ended up not launching the brands at all. And yeah, it kind of, we made it through, but it kind of damaged a little bit our trajectory for a while.
So as you're scaling, you're learning about technology also, right?
Hmm.
And that's where I'm hoping that that you're transitioning to becoming a technology platform for the pop-up store, right?
Hmm.
You're
Hmm.
learning your lessons, right? Hard lessons.
Hmm.
And at what point there was a pivot there that you went like, you know what? I don't really need to sell product. I actually have this. I have this technology that I could sell as a service.
Yeah, I think it was myself and Corey, my business partner, kind of talking about what's next for us. And I think it came from also a lot of frustration as well from e-commerce. I think it was tough times as well. And I was like, I'm a little bit tired of this. I want something different, you know? I said, wouldn't it be great to actually build something that can the people can use and build things with it, right? That's the beautiful thing of software. Instead of just giving like this relationship where you sell a product, people use it, and that's it. It stops there, right? They consume it, and then it can be a good product, like a supplement or a piece of clothes, whatever. But they still consume it. There's nothing. They don't use it to make something. And we always were fascinated about this idea. And he has a background in software engineering, right? And so we molded the idea for a while of like what we can do next. And it was like, maybe it's a Shopify app. Maybe we had a few ideas, and it was like, hey, why don't we build an e-commerce platform? And we started like thinking about what would be the perfect platform for you, what would be the perfect solution. And we started thinking about all the issues that we were having where we were running our Shopify store. Then I worked obviously in Shopify with him, so that's where we met. So we were working merchant facing. So I was in Shopify Plus, he was in Shopify Plus. We were working with merchants. I was in Europe, he was in Canada. And so it came down with all basically being 15 years in e-commerce and listening to the problems and seeing the evolution of commerce as well. And so just came this kind of idea of this blueprint of the online stores that have not changed in the last 30 years. And when we came with that realization, we were like, okay, maybe we can change this. Maybe we can reinvent how people and reimagining how people build online stores. Because the front end has developed a lot, and also the technology allows platforms like Shopify to almost democratize building an online store, becoming an entrepreneur. But the fundamental structure, which is this blueprint, which is homepage, product page, cart, and a checkout, you pick a theme, you put on this blueprint, and then you start selling online, has not changed for the last 30 years, right? And so we were like, let's change this. Let's not just build another app. Let's build something new. And that's where the idea of PopUp came to be.
Okay. So you're sitting down. You said, okay, you know what? I'm done with selling products, right? Let me let me get in and because of the rich Shopify experience you've had in your career, right, and also running e-commerce businesses, you say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna we not I don't want to just replicate what Shopify is doing. I want to do something better because I want to redefine how e-commerce should be done, right? So
Mhm.
from that time to actually doing it, how much time had elapsed between for you and your partner?
Oh, 1 week. We
Oh,
made
one
the
week.
decision. Yeah, it was funny because we made the decision. It was like, okay, let's do it. Let's go for it. So it was like, we obviously Viceroy at the time was still going, right? So we had the fund. We were like, let's allocate some of the funds. Let's hire some engineers. Let's Viceroy financing PopUp, right? And then we start like this. So now scoped out the product. We didn't understand like the oh god, how big these things was going to be and how big these things we have to build. Um, and I think it came into our mind eventually. I think it was like after 1 week, I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be really big. I think Corey was called me and it was like, I thought about it. This is gonna be like a huge project. I don't know if it's gonna be possible or not. And I was like, okay, maybe let's think about something else. So we gave up like for a couple of days. I think it was like a day, and we gave up. We were like, let's build something else. And I thought about ideas of like some content platform that we wanted to do. And I remember I had a call with him, and I was like, I'm not sure. and then I want to do anything else. What about you? I was like, oh yeah, I wanted actually to call you and to tell you the same thing. I was like, I'm passionate about commerce. I know this is gonna be like crazy, but yeah, let's do it. And then we had the moment of like, this is gonna be too big. In fact, it was too big because we were meant to launch in 4 months, and it took us. We launched after 2 years, so it was yeah, the idea that we had in our mind was, I think, was much smaller than what actually came to be. And I think along that journey came the realization of like, we're never ever gonna be able to do this with our own money. We're never gonna be able to build an MVP e-commerce platform, because an MVP e-commerce platform doesn't exist. The guy that makes $1,000 a year has the same platform, more or less, that a guy that makes a million a year. You still need the same thing. You still need the order management, fulfillment management. You still need the full-on CRM. You still need the functional checkout, payment integration, front-end architecture, our value proposition, which is the journey builder, which is something completely unique that someone never built. So we're building also technology that was never done before, right? And so yeah, that's where came the realization, and that's where I was like, okay, maybe we have to go to this thing called venture capitalists that we have no clue about it, and maybe they're going to ask us, they're going to give us some money. And that's what happened. I was lucky to know someone that was in the initial team of Deal. And Deal at the time, they were raising like crazy. Like I think they raised like 200 million. And she was at the very, very beginning, right, of their journey. And then I called her up, and she just gave me a crash course. And then another guy called Anthony Dannon, which I hope is going to listen to this podcast, he came on a call and he was like, hey guys, I heard from this person that you might be raising. I just want to offer you my help. And I was like, what do you want? And he told me, I remember, honestly, I remember this like yesterday. That was like my initial thing of like how crazy this thing. This guy's like, I want to help you out. And I asked him, what do you want in return? He was like, I just want that when you raise the money, you let me give you $10,000. And I was like, what? You're giving me help? And in exchange, you want to give me money as well? And I didn't understand until obviously a few months later, I understood why he wanted to say that. Because he saw things that I wasn't seeing. He saw that,
An early investor too.
yeah, he saw that it's like, these guys are like, we didn't understand how good it was for venture capital meeting us, because we had like two ex-Shopify guys with a lot of experience in e-commerce, building an MVP e-commerce platform. We came also with a great pitch deck, and we had like, there was a perfect founders market fit, and all these things that I didn't understand until actually I understood them. And then obviously the funds were oversubscribed, and then there was so many people that wanted to invest, and Anthony came back and it was like, you see, it was because I was making favors to people to say, hey, yeah, I'll let you invest or not invest. And he was right. I was, and yeah, it's, of course, Anthony, yeah, come in. Yeah. So
So
that was my venture capital story.
So to fund the development of this idea, you got the funds, or did you actually build some sort of a MVP, MVP, or was it just a pitch deck with a concept of this is how we are different than what Shopify offers or WooCommerce or any of these guys?
Yeah, it was a bit of both. It was a pitch deck for what the platform was going to be, but we had an initial prototype that was really different from what it is the platform right now. We built like a small prototype, but it was the journey builder was completely different. It was more so a conceptual visualization of what the platform could do. It
So you
wasn't
get the
functional.
fund,
It was like
uh,
you couldn't check out, right? It was not
but it
functional at
gives
all.
an
It was
idea,
a
the visual aspect of it, right? This is how it's gonna that's how it's gonna work. Okay,
yes,
so
exactly. Yeah.
now you get the funding. Yeah, you have your funding in place. You learned about venture capital now, and you got the funding. Now you're going to that was a $3.5 million round.
Yeah, 3.5 pre-seed actually. Yeah, pre-seed round, big pre-seed round.
Wow, congratulations! So when you get the funding, now you're putting the team of engineers together to develop this thing you just got funded, right?
Mhm.
What's happening? It took about 2 years. You thought it would take 4 months. It took 2 years to build, right? Were
Yeah,
there initial releases like alpha and beta releases of the platform before
yeah.
you had a
So
full?
yeah, so we got the funding. We got the funding in November last year. So 1 year was that prototype idea of conceptualizing and all of that, and then once we got the funding, we built for a year. So we went to beta like now. So it's been a year, like in 2 months. We
Mhm.
scaled the team. Corey actually scaled the team because I don't know. I've no idea. I'm not a product person in terms of like I would know on a merchant perspective what a good e-commerce platform would be able to do. But Corey would know that as well because obviously I think the great superpower that he has the technical knowledge, but he's also the business knowledge at the same time, right? So he's been a merchant with me, but at the same time he knows also how to scale engineering team and product team. He's a product guy. So we started to build pods. So with product designer, product managers, and engineers assigned to kind of different pods. And the pods is because we had to break down the platform into like different parts, compartments. So you have like the CRM part, you have the checkout, you have the journey builder, and you have the template editor. These are like the four big big parts of the platform. This is why the scope of the project is so big, because some application you might just do the front end, some application you just might do the back end. We have to do everything, right? So we have to do, and that's why a lot of apps they live on top of Shopify, because they don't have to worry about integration, the checkout, the money, and all of that. So
So, given your early part of your experience, which
mhm.
was consumer marketing, right?
Mhm.
You knew how to bring on customers and sell your products that you were making, right? And you would go to Facebook, Google, affiliate marketing, influencer marketing. That's all, makes up a lot of the SEO optimization, email marketing, so on and so forth. That's consumer marketing. You knew how to grow those businesses very quickly and scale them, right? Now here you start up this tech business, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, pop-up store, and how much of that experience you could borrow from to market this tech business?
I was very surprised, and I was really not confident in the beginning, because I was like, I never done SaaS in my life, right? I never done SaaS in my life. I always sold products. And then I soon realized that two things: that marketing is really understanding people, and I'm still selling a product. I was selling a supplement on a subscription, but the basics of a customer journey is from awareness to adoption, the basic of human psychology of conversion, conversion rate optimization on a page that is SaaS or there is an e-commerce page. The fundamentals are the same, but also we're seeing a shift, I think, in marketing, both from an e-commerce standpoint, also a SaaS standpoint. There's just a general shift in marketing where acquisition cost is rising, and this is rising for e-com brands and direct to consumer brands, but it's rising also for SaaS company. 2019, 40% of the VC money went to Facebook and Google, right? Because I think the trajectory that a lot of these newly funded startups were doing, they were like, we build the products, and then we pivot a few times until we find this product market fit. And then when we're ready to do marketing, we just pour all this money into advertising and try to have a CAC that is somehow allow us to be profitable. Who cares about profitability? We just raise more money. Now that was, I think, what was happening. Right now, you cannot do that anymore. First, because the acquisition doesn't work as good as it used to be from a tracking standpoint. It's gonna get even worse because with the cookie policy implemented, there's gonna be more roadblocks. So I think before it was always I find the product and I find the customer and then I build the community. And what I see the shift right now is like I build the community and then I find within the community possible customers and then I build the product. So I think community-led growth, building a community, investing in content, this is the kind of the approach that I decided to do. And I would have done the same thing that if I had like a direct to consumer brands. So we started the community on Discord that brings expert and direct to consumer brands together. It's platform agnostic, so I'm not selling pop-up there. It's literally I just want to bring amazing experts from agencies and from any parts of the e-commerce world and direct to consumer brands to help each other. And the other thing is like we started a YouTube channel where we do documentaries, we do interviews about entrepreneurship and e-commerce. There's going to be this bit of teaching, there's been motivational videos. One of the documentaries, I was in Ukraine interviewing entrepreneurs during the war to
Wow.
understand like the whole peacetime, wartime CEO. I did that over the summer, but the question that I asked over there, I was like, we are going to face a recession. And I knew there was going to be a recession. I mean, now it's like the news, but I knew that was going to happen. And I was asking, what do you that you are in a war zone right now and facing challenges, what did you do to face this challenge, and how you can, what tips you can give to the Western, your Western business entrepreneurs that are going to face our own challenges with the recession coming in and inflation, right? And that was the documentary that was all about, interviewing people about this. So I think, I think that's the approach that we want to use, very much like working with experts, working with the community, more like an organic approach, and moving away from these paid ads and just like trying to pour money into paid advertising and try to convert that way.
Doesn't that go back to the fundamental question of the quality of brand awareness strategies, like focusing on building your brand first and not just doing it the hard way of just pouring capital into paid advertisement?
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's like because people are changing. I think I see a shift in people. The old sales techniques are not working as good as they used to. Consumers are getting more aware as well when you're trying to oversell them something or who you are. It's really hard to kind of lying to consumer, or kind of not meeting their expectation. It's much easier now to lead them to disappointment. Also, like, I don't know about your listener or yourself, but my email, I literally get like 20 sales email every single day. Like, I used to be not as much. I mean, it's like now it's like constant pouring of everyone's trying to sell me
Every
something, right?
morning, I clean up 200 emails.
Exactly, right? It's just
They're
because
all
as well,
ads. They're all ads, basically. 200
yeah,
at least from my inbox.
exactly. And I think it's because the technology as well is allowing us to do this at scale. Now also with ChatGPT, now that's gonna be open up a new can of like flooding content with like just normal, like, you know what I mean? It's like all this email automation software, this LinkedIn automation. It's like everyone is accessible to everyone, right? And this has happened as well too during e-commerce, right? E-commerce used to be something that just few people were able to do, just few businesses. And then Shopify came in and dropshipping came in, and then suddenly everyone was selling products. And what was happening? 80% of the product was garbage. I see this happening as well with all the sales automation. I see this happening with content. Whenever you democratize and make everything easy for everyone, either to create content or do sales, it means you're gonna have a lot of noise, and finding the rights and moving away from the noise and finding what really matters is really, really hard. So if someone has a great product or great content, sometimes they get lost in a lot of junk. So the only way to do it is be different. You have to do things in a different way. You have to stand out, you know. And the way I see it, especially when I do sales, is like people want to trust you and want to like you, and they want to have a face behind who you are. If I test an email campaign that is called email campaign without having a LinkedIn introduction before, my performance is terrible. I see that whenever I connect on LinkedIn, even if they view my profile, they open the email and they reply to me because they see me, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, it's this guy, it's his story, okay,
I
I
can
I,
relate to him.
I
Yeah.
can relate to him, or it's a face, right? So yeah, that's my advice. It's like try to actually build relationships, not just try to sell something. Treat your customer like your friends. That's what I say. It's the simplest advice. Treat your customer like a friend, or potential customers as well, not just customers.
I mean, there are three major platforms, right? You have Facebook, you have Google, and Amazon. Those three are, if you think about it from an advertising standpoint, or even population standpoint, those are the those. If you're on the web, you're on one of those three platforms, right? Pretty
Mhm.
much, you know. Rarely you're on some other platform or one of their apps. So when a challenge like Apple makes an update to their iPhone and it ends up hurting Facebook ads, right? As a business, you start crying foul. You say, "Oh my God, my business is going to go down because Apple screwed me over by, because of this issue now I have with Facebook ads, and it's not working anymore." Right? I don't think the issue is Facebook or Apple. It's you. You decided to do it the easy way by taking your money and putting it into ads instead of the amount of what do you call that? Brand equity you needed to build.
Yeah,
You did not build it. It's like when you go to the bank when you're buying a home, right? If you get a fixed loan, you know what the loan rate is. It's 2%, 6%. Right now it's like 7.5% or something, right? That's what the rate is. That's it. It's fixed for 30 years, no problem. Some people, they say, oh, you know what? I'm going to make a balloon payment. I'm going to get what's called an arm. So now, after that promotional period is over, their rate goes to 15%, 20%. And
yeah,
then they complain, like, oh my God, my mortgage is so high. No, you decided to buy that. That's what you bought for yourself. The reason I'm using that analogy is when it comes to things like technology, what's guaranteed from me and you to every listener on this show? Change. Change will happen. 100% of the time it happens. I can tell you the rate of change that it's going to happen. Things that worked amazingly great are going to bomb amazingly also. Things
true.
that you thought that you built your Shopify store with Facebook ads, because most people did it that way, right? And then when Facebook had problems with its ad platform because of an Apple update, and then now Android is going through that update too, it's going to be even a bigger problem. Now you're suffering because what you said, Matteo, you did not build your brand through content, through community. You did not bring what is the reason for those customers to even find you or become your customer, let alone keep on being your customer.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's like even on LinkedIn and people building their personal brand, and I like LinkedIn is introducing this newsletter functionality, and I'm like, I understand why it's great for LinkedIn, but I understand why it's great for you, because the moment that LinkedIn kicks you out or whatever it is, they own the data. The
Yeah.
only way
It's
is like
not your subscription.
it's not your subscription. It's not, you don't have your names, your emails, the phone numbers of your customer. You can reach out and say, hey guys, I'm doing this. Own your customers. Like, try to build a community around a product or service, and that's it. It's gonna take time. There's no shortcuts. I'm sorry. And if a shortcut comes, ride the wave, and knowing that it's a wave. I'm gonna ride it, and it's gonna finish. It's an added bonus. But as you said, making a business out of shortcuts or that wave, it's completely pointless to me.
So from Broadway dancing through all of the scars you showed us throughout this interview to pop-up star with a 3.5 million raise, $16 million in revenue, right? All of these incredible journeys. If you reflect back on it, what is your number one $100,000 expert insight into taking this journey that you can share with other entrepreneurs that they can take away and implement it in their lives?
I don't think I have anything that probably they haven't heard before. But I think what worked for me was always try to be very self-aware of the way I felt and the way I feel, and look after my mental health, and moving away from the stigma as well, from asking for help and looking after myself, and also being finding it was a key moment for me, finding my big why. Because I realized that a goal that is achieved is no longer motivating. So when I did 60 million with Viceroy, it was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna make more, I'm gonna make more and more and more money. And I always try to put like a number on my next goal. And I realized that once you achieve that goal, what's next? And I wanted to find something, that a goal that can never be achieved. Because if I can find a goal that can never be achieved, it's going to drive me for the rest of my life. And everything else, everything that I do in my life is just, it's just a guidepost along the destination, right? And I'm not going to focus on where I'm going. I just focus on a long way destination, enjoy my journey, and then achieving this small guidepost that can be pop-up, is my charity. I don't know what it's going to be in the next 20 years. But I think that's my advice. Find the goal that can never be achieved, because a goal achieved is no longer motivating.
Keep on moving that guidepost like 3 years.
Yeah,
Punt
exactly.
it. 3 years.
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
there yet. I'm gonna get there in 3 years.
Yeah,
I'm not there yet. Yeah.
yeah. That's what
Well,
happened.
well, Well said, Matteo. Definitely visit Matteo on his site, popup.store, especially if you're involved in e-commerce. Definitely go there and check it out and learn more about it. What an incredible journey, especially with all the transitions and the learnings that you have had. I think it's quite invaluable, and a lot of people will get a lot of gain a lot of wisdom from it and insights from it. Thank you for being here, Matteo.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, audience, again for listening to us and joining us. We have many more amazing guests like Mateo joining us throughout this season and more. So please keep on tuning in to us and make sure that you follow and subscribe and like our content so that we can keep on producing more and more content. And definitely let me know if you would like to see any other guests on the show. Please send me their LinkedIn profile or Instagram profile so I can get to know them and do an exploratory with them. Thank you again for tuning in. And until next time.